I'm sitting here at a kitchen or a dining room table, and I purposely picked this location to film from because over that table is usually where a lot of major decisions in a family are discussed. What I want to talk about on this show is changes. It's the real estate show. Welcome to the Real Estate Show. My name is Rick Naples, owner-broker of Zone Realty LLC. You zone your home. Changes. Changes are a part of life. Things change. Situations change. Family relationships change. Relationships with other people change. People grow or people stay where they are. It's constantly evolving. What I'm talking about here on this show is changes, and changes when it comes to our real estate relationships. When you're a seller or a buyer, you're going to make a decision to make a change, and that's either to sell your home and move to another one, or potentially buy a home. It's part of the life cycle. When you're a business, you also look at making changes. Whether you're going to expand, whether you're going to cut back, location, and so on and so forth. And there's tons of different motivations behind what makes those changes happen. When you're a seller and you're looking to sell your home, something has happened that requires you to move on. Either you need a bigger place, or it's time for a smaller place. Maybe there's been a job transfer, an unfortunate death in the family, divorce, or something positive like a new baby coming into the family. But something has motivated you to make that change. When you're a buyer, you become a buyer because you've made a conscious decision to make a change in your life, and that is to maybe step into owning property. Whether it's going to be a condo or a home or any kind of a real estate investment, you've made that conscious decision that that's where you want to go. Now, I find that a lot of times, unless there's something within the family unit or something that happens during the course of the year that motivates that change, a lot of these changes begin to be considered around tax time. Now, why tax time? Why am I talking about tax time? Well, when it comes to doing your taxes every single year, it really gives you a good financial picture of where you've been and where you may potentially be going as far as your financial health is concerned. Now, this is done, of course, on a personal basis. We get our W-2s from our employers or maybe 1099s, and we file our taxes, we figure out what our income is, what our deductions are, if we have any deductions, or we take the standard deduction. That gives us a net income, and we hope to get either a big refund from the IRS or perhaps we owe money that we have to pay. Businesses do the same thing. Every year a business files their tax returns. And when you do that, you have a real opportunity to take a look at where you've been and where you're going. Now, every year here at Zone Realty, we do our taxes and we look at the amount of income that's come into the business, what we've paid out of the business, what our expenses are, and all the different things that are involved in running a real estate agency. In comparison, as we go year to year, we look at ways of, where can we improve things? Where can we get better in things? How can we do more things? Now, of course, every business wants to do more business. That's a given fact. More business you do, more income comes in, and so on and so forth. And you do the best you can do for controlling expenses. So we at Zone Realty decided we're going to make a change. We looked at our past, we looked at where our future is going, and we're going to make some changes in the way that we conduct our business. In other words, for the better. Not only for the better for the company, but for the better for our agents, and also for the better of the clients that we do business with. And I'm going to make an announcement on a future real estate show on one of the biggest changes that's coming along that we're working on at present. Changes can be a good thing. Sometimes they come about because of things that we're not really in control of. Like I mentioned earlier, you may have had a death in a partnership where the home no longer is sufficient for the individual's needs, and this home is decided to be sold. Or it could be a positive change where you're welcoming another child into the family and you need more room. Or it could be just a change that you've decided it's time for a change. We've all had those moments, when you kind of look at things and you feel you're kind of stale and you say to yourself, I got to change things up. I've got to do something different. Mix things up a little bit and make it change. Some of the changes are very personal. Some of them, as I said, involve a business. Others involve your real estate. Whatever the motivation is, you make a change. You go a different direction. Let's just take a look at this fun little video, and I'll be back to talk more about changes when it comes to real estate. talking here on the Real Estate Show about changes and possible motivations behind making changes. And I'm kind of linking that into the time of year, as I had mentioned earlier, tax time, and how that kind of helps us bring our financial picture into focus. There's a lot of reasons to make a change. Sometimes those reasons are positive, sometimes they're negative. But in the long run, every change that you make usually is for the better or for the good. When it comes to real estate, there's a lot of different things that are going to change in your life. For instance, if you're a buyer and you're buying your first property, this is something new for you. You've never owned property before. You now have a different set of responsibilities. You have a house or maybe a condo. You've got to take care of it. There are responsibilities as far as running the household, both financially and physically. Or perhaps you've made a change in your personal life. I joke around at this time of year that one of the more common changes that everyone tries to make is what we call the New Year's resolutions. You know, we all make them. More common ones are, or the most common one that I know of is every year we say to ourselves, well, we're going to lose that 10 pounds. You know, we're going to eat a healthier diet. Or we're going to exercise more, or something along those lines. And whether or not that happens depends on your motivation and your stamina to stay with that motivation to make that change. When you decide to purchase a home, you've made that decision to make that change in your life, and you need to be able to stick with it. You know, a real estate transaction is something that is different for everyone. Sometimes they go very, very smoothly, which is the main hope. But other times there's bumps in the road, and there's challenges, and there's things that might derail the whole idea of purchasing that particular home. You got to stick with it. You have to, I don't know, let's start using sayings here, but roll with the punches. If you want to make that change in your life to own a home, you've got to go with what you got to go with in order to make that happen. When you're a seller and you're deciding to sell your home and make a change, whether you're going to buy a bigger home or go to a smaller home or go from a house to a condo, or I actually know a couple of folks that go from homes to recreational vehicles, or whatever, there has to be a motivation and a decision behind that in order to make that choice. Changes can be a very good thing. They can be, as I said, very challenging. And sometimes they could be difficult. I was once sitting around having a general conversation with some friends, and I was doing probably what most of us do when we're talking to people that we trust. And I was kind of complaining, I guess is the best way you can put it, about a situation that I was in and how I was unhappy with that specific situation. And I was really at a loss as to what to do about it. And of course, my friends all kicked in their opinions, and we all came to the agreement that in order for me to be happier, I had to make a change. And that's what the topic of this show is making a change. As I said earlier, when we come to the decision that we need to make a change, a lot of times we seek advice of our friends or our family, our confidants, or sometimes we go out and we talk to professionals. In the case of real estate, you're going to talk to the mortgage officer, you may talk to a realtor, you may talk to friends and relatives about their experiences of buying a house or selling a house. You're going to gather up information in order to make that change. But you also need to look, as I said, at the motivation. Is there a motivation for that change? Or basically, not only the motivation for the change, but are you motivated to make that change? There are people out there that like to complain about their situation, but then they do nothing to change it. They just kind of go by day, and everything stays the same, and they're unhappy, or they just accept that that's their position, and they go about the day-to-day activities, not really making that decision to make a change in their life. I talked earlier about, New Year's resolutions. Every time New Year's comes along, everyone starts thinking about the things they're going to do different in the new year than they did in the past year, or maybe something different that they're going to do that they haven't done before. I have friends of mine that don't do a lot of vacationing and don't do a lot of traveling, and they've decided that now's the time to make that change. Let's go out and start to travel this year. Let's go see some places. Let's not just be homebodies. Let's make that positive change. You make decisions, changes every single day. You're living in your house. Right now, if you're sitting there and you're watching the real estate show and you're in your own home, you may be sitting there and watching me talk, but at the same time looking around the room that you're in, or walking through the house that you live in and thinking about changes you're going to make in the house. Maybe you're looking at a wall and you're saying, it's time to make a change. We're going to paint that wall. We're going to freshen it up. We're going to make a different color of it. Maybe the chair you're sitting in has become uncomfortable and you decide you want to make a change and go buy a new chair or a new couch. Maybe the table you're sitting at, you decide is too small or too big or too old or needs to be updated or needs to be changed. Tons of decisions to be made. In real estate, it's the same thing. As an individual, you make that decision to buy or sell. As a realtor, we have to make dozens and dozens of decisions every single day, week, and month as to how to proceed with our business and with our clients. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes when a real estate transaction is going on, and it requires a lot of decisions to be made and a lot of choices to be made. And the goal is for those changes to be positive and to achieve the goal that you're looking to achieve. That is moving into your new home or selling your old home and moving into a new home. Little things throughout the course of the day or through the week or even a month guide the direction that you may be going in. I make a joke about different things that I've done with my pet. I have a cat, and she's going through changes because she's getting older, and sometimes she can be a bundle to handle. And I think to myself, why do I have a cat? She's just a challenge to take care of. Or sometimes she's like a little child and she's very demanding. But at the same time, I try to have that relationship with the animal and make the changes that are better for her, as also is better for me. Could be changing her diet. Could be where I have certain things set up within the household for her. A couple of years ago, I decided to make it easier for her to be able to roam around the house. So I took some barriers down that I had up to hopefully make her a little bit happier situation. But again, changes. If you have a dog, you make changes. Whether it's a cat or a dog, if you have some other kind of an animal, you have to make changes. Changes influence the direction that we go in our life. And again, as I've said many, many times, sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're negative, but either way, you hope that they're for the better and help you move forward. This is the part of the real estate show I call the final thought. I have an opportunity here to either talk about the subject of the show or maybe get off the subject and make a general comment about the real estate industry or what's going on. I said towards the beginning of the show that as a business, sometimes you need to make changes or you need to change the pathway that you're traveling on. In our company, Zone Realty, we've decided to make a couple of changes. And these changes, we are in high hope, will be better not only for the company, but also for the clients that we do business with. And I'm going to make that announcement as to what those specifics are for those changes on a future real estate show, because we're still in the process of looking at the positives and the negatives and doing our negotiations and so on and so forth. Changes, as I said, can be a good thing. You just need to make sure that your motivation behind the change is positive, and that if it's a negative influence that's making you make the change, that will become a positive situation in the near future. My name is Rick Naples. This is The Real Estate Show. I thank you for watching.